Welcome to another episode. Today we're doing a live stream. Now that Tesla's at 200 billion, wanted to go live my thoughts on what I think about the valuation and what I'm doing with my shares, and then have a bunch of you call in and see what you think. I'm going to open the fan line. It should be open, so you should be able to see a number you can call. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up. I know there's a slight delay. So let's get started. So 200 billion. Wow, this is crazy for Tesla. I'm all in originally around $247 per share, I think, is my average cost basis, which is about, a quarter of where we're at today, even less than that. I think it was like $40 billion market cap. Now Tesla is like literally become the world's largest automaker, I believe, in market cap. Although it is important to remember by enterprise value, it is a little different, but $200 billion. I mean, this is epic. Kind of wanted to run you through what I'm thinking valuation wise, and then take some calls from you about what you're doing. So obviously long-term investor, not going to sell any of my stock, really looking forward to hold this and watch the growth story unfold, because frankly, I think we're just getting started. I mean, so Tesla has done about 24 billion in revenue last year. That's like 8 or 9 times sales, trailing sales. But I really think, it's obviously about looking forward. Tesla's got the Model Y, Gigafactory Shanghai and Fremont combining for almost 1 million cars per year very soon. And I think, that 1 million cars per year, by my estimate, really rough estimate, around 50,000 per car, gets you to about a 50 billion revenue run rate. I would say maybe in 6 months to 12 months. And so, 200 billion divided by a 50 billion run rate. I mean, that's only 4 times price sales. You have gross margins improving. You have more and more in the sales becoming software as they raise the full self-driving prices. I mean, it's looking more and more like Tesla's ahead, and pretty clear that they're going to be able to sell millions of cars per year. If they can sell 2 million, 3 million at 50,000, we're talking about 100 billion, 150 billion in revenue. And that could be 3, 5, 7 years away. So when I think about, Tesla in the long term, I do think they should be at a discount on a price sales basis, but overall still have a price sales multiple higher than what we've seen traditionally in the auto industry, more like a tech hardware company, which I think is 3 to 4 times like what Apple trades at, but at maturity. And I think Tesla's still so early. And that $50 billion business, that doesn't include the semi-truck, that doesn't include the solar roof, that doesn't include what they're doing with batteries. So when I think you really layer this all together, it's hard for me to think that Tesla is the world's most valuable car company today. And I still think there's, 5 to 10x more upside in the company. But that just is what it is, because I really think they're a new energy company. I mean, look at the market cap of Saudi Aramco, one of the world's largest companies, Saudi Arabia's state-owned oil company, which recently IPO'd, which had a market cap of, I think, 2.2 trillion at the time of IPO. Now it's at about, I think it's like below 1.5 trillion. Now it's gone down. But that just shows you, how big of a market Tesla's attacking here. They just sell the energy that goes into the propulsion system of the future, or of the past, which is the internal combustion engine. Tesla, they're going to sell you the way to make energy with solar, the way to store it with batteries, the way to consume it with cars. I mean, that's a trifecta of energy, of getting people and stuff around, that I just think is massive. And they're attacking much more than just a traditional car company would be. And that's why I think it's important to look at their valuation a little differently. I mean, long run, I think Tesla's designing a home HVAC system, some sort of smart home system that uses really a little amount of energy to clean your air, and also heat your home and cool your home with this smart AC. Like, there's so many different crazy ways I see Tesla's business going, eventually getting into airplanes if they have the most cheapest, energy dense battery that crosses, the 500 watt hours per kilogram threshold, or whatever Elon Musk says we need to make electric planes. I mean, that's coming. Tesla's going to be first there. They're going to be able to disrupt cargo ships. I mean, there's so much down the line when I think about the technology that Tesla's developed of the world's best, most efficient, cheapest battery that lasts the longest. And now increasingly, this other piece of the business, which is, cars that can drive themselves. I mean, how much is that worth on a software, high margin, recurring basis? Like, even though Tesla today, I think, clearly on a path to 50 billion, cash flow earnings wise, they're doing about $1 billion in free cash flow a quarter, maybe more. That's what, 4 billion normalized run rate of free cash flow, 50 times that at 200 billion. That's the closest thing I think you get to it, trying to normalize some sort of earnings ratio. And you figure that free cash flow sort of normalized free cash flow of 4 billion is compounding at 100%. 50x multiple seems pretty reasonable. So there's lots of different ways to slice this valuation here. But I'm personally, as a super long-term investor, just holding on and think there is, another decade of Tesla actually fundamentally physically growing its business. And I think the valuation will follow. So I'm going to open this up to calls from you all. And yeah, let's see what you think. So there's a slight delay, so try and answer quickly and maybe tell us your name and your question. And yeah, let's go for it. Hey, hello. You're on Hyperchange. This is Gally. Who am I talking to?
Hey, what up, Hyperchange? This is Tyler.
What's up, Tyler? How's it going?
How's it going? Good. You taking questions?
Yes, would love a question.
All right, great. So when the Tesla network opens up, do you think it's going to focus on being like profits for owners or towards driving the cost down per ride or somewhere in the middle?
Awesome question. So I think the Tesla network, for those who are curious, is the network that Tesla would theoretically launch to compete with Lyft and Uber without drivers, although there's some rumors they would launch it with drivers at first to sort of get it going. I mean, this is a huge opportunity for Tesla to both create margin and value and revenue and profitability for their company and a new revenue stream from cars, but also a way to make it cheaper for humans to get around and cheaper for humans to own cars. Like, it's just a technology that makes it cheaper to get around. If we don't have to have a human driving and a car can drive itself, like, there's room for margin on both sides. So Tesla will take, 10 to 20 to 30, 40% of every ride on or piece of revenue on the Tesla network. That's pretty much all profit. They're already paying to develop all of this software and do all the hard work. They would just have to operate the network. So it turns an extremely profitable, almost like software-like margins revenue line item for Tesla potentially, where they become like a marketplace and just take that cut. So I think that would be epic. But then I also think I think the cost per ride right now over taxi and Uber is like $2.50, $3 a mile. Like, Tesla could get that down to $1 a mile and still have a huge room for profit. And this is sort of if you want to look more into this, Tesla has an awesome Autonomy Day presentation at the end where they talk about the economics of this. And, I don't know, the amount of money you could make letting your car drive itself around would probably significantly offset the ownership of a car. I mean, it's kind of a game changer and hard to wrap your head around the fact that your car could literally make money for you while you're not using it. You might just have to clean it or pay a network operator to clean it. Like, how many more people would buy cars? Because it's just really interesting. And this is the capability of Tesla's full self-driving package. And so right now it's, $7,000, soon to be $8,000, but they're just going to keep increasing the price of this because there's so much value. And eventually that end game of driving a robo-taxi around itself, that full self-driving package could be worth 30, 40, 50, 60 grand or something like that. Anyway, next call. Hello, you're on Hyperchange. What's your question?
He was talking about possibly having home an HVAC system.
Yep.
And I was actually gonna ask him a little bit about what he thinks if Tesla would actually do a home like all DC current instead of doing, because everything from the solar panel to the battery is all DC. And it actually consumes a lot of energy to go from DC to AC back to DC to run, all of your electronics are DC. So my question is does he think that they might actually have some DC products, like the HVAC system will be DC and like to get rid of AC pretty much totally?
Yeah, love it. Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good question. And frankly, that's something where I'm totally out of my expertise and won't be able to answer it. But I also think it's kind of at a high level, like, that's the really interesting thing of this is probably an industry that hasn't changed for decades. The way homes are wired and the electrical systems and how that all works, the sensors that go in there, how programmable it is. Like, I think all of that is super old fashioned and ripe for disruption. I don't know about this AC/DC current thing, just a little out of my wheelhouse, but great thing to bring up and think about. Hello, you're on Hyperchange. Do you have a question?
Hey, how's it going, Gally? I love your content, man. Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
So we have Giga Berlin and Giga Austin most likely in the pipeline. What geography or geographies do you feel would be most logical for Tesla to move into next?
Ooh,
Thanks.
awesome question. Thank you. So we've got Europe covered with Berlin, China covered with Shanghai, North America covered with Fremont, although the other east coast of North America with the Cybertruck, that's going to be, I think, Austin, Texas. They're going to have another factory. So the question is, where would they build a factory after that? I don't know. I think you're a couple years out from them even starting, but maybe not. It's Tesla. They move quick. I mean, I think India. I know I put out a video of like when will Tesla enter India like 2 years ago, and it got a ton of views. And I didn't realize how many people in India were super pumped and knew about Tesla and like wanted them to come. So I think that would be a really cool. I mean, India is soon to be one of the most world's populous countries, rapidly growing GDP, huge population, huge need for new clean energy infrastructure. I mean, I think that's a really interesting place, an opportunity for Tesla to get involved with long term. I mean, Africa, I think, is a continent where they don't really have operations or anything yet, but in the long term, South America, I'm just thinking continent-wise. Otherwise, I think, China, we'll see how much they expand with Shanghai, but China is massive in terms of how many people there are, how many cars they're going to need. So I don't know if there's a need for Tesla to build another China factory or just keep expanding Shanghai, but I think Tesla in China is going to have to expand okay, they're building a Model Y production line in China. They're probably gonna have to build another huge production line in China too, or another huge factory to accommodate demand. I just wonder if it'll be in that same location. Okay, take another call. Hello, you're on Hyperchange. Yeah, can I take your question?
Yes. Hi. I'm following you, and thank you for all the work you do. I have a question. Oh, by the way, my name is Galileo Farraboni.
No way. You're the first Galileo I've ever met.
You were the first Galileo I've met also. So, but anyway, my question
That's
is
awesome.
a simple question.
Yep.
You cover everything I want to know, but the part I really never hear about is the other businesses of Tesla, the power business, etc. When do you think they will become big enough so that people, all the analysts will be talking about the different segments of the business?
Yep. Awesome question. Thanks, Galileo. So I think, once the analysts start talking about it, it's probably too late. But I think the energy business is about 5 to 10% of their revenue. It's actually gotten smaller, hasn't grown that much. So the problem is Tesla's car business is so early and about to be so massive, and it seems to be their focus for now, that I really think like cars, Model Y, then Cybertruck, then the semi-truck is really going to be what takes Tesla to a 50, then 100 billion in revenue. The battery business, it's going to be years before it really gets anywhere near that scale. And I'm personally just waiting for Tesla to show us about the battery business, because they always talk about how fast it's going to grow, but then it never really delivers. But I know they've been very constrained on battery cells because of there's just not enough batteries, and they're putting them in cars instead of for the grid. So maybe Battery Investor Day will hold an answer there about the battery business. I think the biggest thing that Tesla has that is really personally like changed my thinking about the valuation and what Tesla is this solar roof, which I think not enough people are taking seriously or really understand that every single roof you look at is not generating electricity, or if it is, it has these really kind of old school, ugly retrofitted solar panels on it. That's just not the future. And I think humanity needs a new way to generate energy. And all of the free sunlight hitting all of our roofs is a massive asset that nobody's using. And it's going to cost hundreds of billions to reinvent the roof infrastructure of the world to capture this energy. And that is a huge business ripe in the making that you're going to need massive marketing. You're going to need to install a ton of regulations. You're going to need to know how to install solar roofs quickly, efficiently, have a product that's built for installation. That's what Tesla's working on. It's very hard to install these quickly and profitably. And also the fact that you have to have the roof tiles that look beautiful. You also have to have the cheapest, home battery to store this all. I think Tesla's sort of next holy grail beyond the car is this turning your home into an asset that can produce energy. And I just think the more and more I thought about that, the way I think about how Tesla talks about that to me, is a business that could be justify a $200 billion company right there, is creating solar energy on our roofs for all of us. So, Yeah. Anyway, next question. Hey, you're live on Hyperchange. You got a question? This is Gally.
How's it going, Gally? This is Eddie.
Eddie, what's up?
I wanted to know if what you think of the cap for recognized full self-driving revenue is. If there's a limit to that as far as them raising the price and them recognizing that income per quarter. When do you think that's going to hit?
Yep, gotcha. So Tesla recognizes their full self-driving income. I think they recognize about half of it, and the rest goes into deferred because they've delivered about half the features right now, half of that 7,000. They're raising it to 8,000. I mean, Elon Musk has hinted that it's worth way more than that. And if you actually go back to a tweet thread that I made before Autonomy Day about how this flips the economics and gross margin structure of its car, like if your car can drive around 100,000 miles a year, making you $1 in revenue, or 50 cents, let's say, in gross profit revenue per mile, that's 50 grand in gross profit cents per mile or per year per car. I mean, for a car that costs 50 grand, that's way too cheap. So the incremental value of this software option could be, I think 20, 30, 40, $50,000 per car and still allow the user and operator of that car to make a massive profit. So think about that. Tesla sells a thing for 50 grand that they got to build for, 35 grand, 40 grand. They make their 10 grand. That incremental 50 grand in potential software revenue is at a fractional cost, goes all to the gross profit. Immediately the economics of the vehicle go to 50% plus gross margin, from like an absolute basis versus like 20 or 30, maybe even a bigger difference than that. I mean, it's just mind boggling. So I think based on the amount of money you could make, and people are paying 7 or 8 grand for it now, and it's not that good. It can't do city streets, but people love it. And it's a deal. And the attachment rate that I saw in the study by Troy Tesla was like over 50% of the people he surveyed, albeit those are the people obsessed with Tesla on Twitter who are filling out surveys. So probably a high, uptake of FSD. But yeah, I just think 7 or 8,000 is going to look extremely cheap for full self-driving if Elon Musk and Tesla has their way. All right, I got 20 calls in the queue, so let's get to these. Hey, you're on Hyperchange. This is Gally. How can I help you?
Hey, Gally, this is Scott. I got to shake your hand at Fully Charged Live before we knew how dangerous that was.
Awesome. Yeah, one of the last handshakes, I guess. So what can I help you with?
So I had a couple of questions. First of all, you did an awesome interview with Dandelion Energy a while back. And there's not been a follow-up. I'd really be curious to hear how they're doing. And another young lady that you interviewed that I just really loved was your interview with Tasha from ARK Invest. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if you could follow up with her again, because every word out of her mouth is rich and full of information. Just a really great interview.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thanks for the question. Oh, whoops, cut him off. But anyway, so I need to get an update on Dandelion. Dandelion Energy is a really cool way that sells like home residential geothermal. They're really doing really well in certain geographies with a tax credit, I believe. Yeah, I just haven't had an update on that. I need to figure that out. I mean, Tasha Keeney's awesome. I've run at ARK Invest, puts out amazing, great research. I actually went to one of their investor brainstorm meetings like pre-corona and talked about their autonomy model with them before I made a video about it, actually. And yeah, they're awesome. I watch everything ARK puts out, and just the way they put out free research is great. But yeah. Anyway, next question. Hello? Hey, you're on Hyperchange. This is Gally. Can I help you?
Hi, Gally. My name is Hassan. I'm calling from Montreal. I have a question for you. So I'm a software/electrical engineer in the enterprise market. And I was wondering, what are your thoughts, on Tesla, exploring, the enterprise market?
The enterprise, sorry, can you say that again? The enterprise market for what?
For their business, right? So with obviously right now they say cars and so on, but how would they explore the enterprise market?
Sorry, I missed the first selling cars to enterprises, or
yeah, for businesses and so on. Is there a path for that, or what are your thoughts on that? I'm not sure if this is gonna stay in line because I want to answer your question here. I think are you talking about the Cybertruck? To me is interesting for
people who need to move things. Like that to me is the first product where you need to enlist some sort of enterprise sales if people want to buy fleets of trucks to do work, or like fleets of semi trucks. I think the semi truck is a very different game because they're going to be, it's all enterprise sales pretty much. And it's not like selling it to a bunch of tiny people. It's selling it to huge fleet operators, giving them a couple test vehicles, hitting the specs, hitting the price, hitting the economics and ROI. And then that's really what's going to drive sales at the enterprise level for the trucks. So I think that's the biggest sort of change I see there. Is that what you were thinking about?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks a lot, Gary. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you. All right, next question. Oh, whoops. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, this is Gally. You're on Hyperchange. Can I help you?
Yeah, Gally, love your work. Huge fan. This
Thank
is
you.
Chirag. I just had a weird random question. So, do you ever think that Tesla would have a heads-up display in the future? Just because I feel like the technology has so much potential, and I feel like they could maybe possibly implement like a Google Glass or an Apple Glass kind of interface to it. Like, what do you think about it? Just wanted to know some opinions about it from you.
Yeah, that's super dope. So I think Tesla, like, I mean, the heads-up display, I think Elon has said is distracting. So, like, I don't know if he's actually going to do that. But one thing I do think Tesla's going to do, which I think is wild, is introduce like an AI assistant in the car, kind of like Siri, but actually smarter and more niche. And I think they should call it Jarvis, like Iron Man's assistant. And you'll like get in your Tesla and be like, Jarvis, do this, or like Jarvis, like play this song, take me here. And I don't, why do we need more distractions of screens to look at on the glass? Like I want to look outside. I want to get away from the screen. I want to enjoy nature when my autonomous car takes me from point A to B. So I don't think the heads-up display, I think the heads-up display is super complex, clunky, doesn't really work. Like I went to China and had like Byton and Neo, or I think it was Neo with the heads-up display, and like it's like a cool concept, but you don't use it. It gets in the way. It's super expensive, and like it just doesn't add value. But I think the future of the tech enabled in the car is like maybe there's a 3D hologram of Jarvis that like pops out, and and that could be sort of like a heads up display thing. But the heads up display is to help you drive. But if the future is that you're not driving, then why do we need it? Also, I'm sorry if you guys think I'm being mean. I'm trying not to be mean. I'm trying to get to all the questions here. So, and I really appreciate all the questions you guys are answering or asking. This is awesome. It's super fun. So, all right, next one. Hello. Hey, this is
Gally. There.
Hey, what's
Eric
up?
Here.
What's up, Eric?
Hey, you remember when Elon decided to create the Boring Company? It was because he was stuck in soul-crushing traffic.
Oh yeah.
Well, working from home now, some of us are suffering from soul-crushing lawnmower noise, and I think the lawnmower industry is ready for innovation.
Oh my
smell
God.
bad, lots of pollution, noisy, and I know there's other players in the market like Ego. But do you think Tesla would ever get in the lawnmower business? Just want to get your thoughts on that.
Let's put it this way. If Tesla did design a lawnmower, it would totally be the most kick-ass one. My dad is pumped that you're asking this question because he showed me the Ego lawnmower, the electric lawnmower. I mean, everything that runs, that uses a battery is like ripe for disruption that Tesla could tackle. They're just focused on cars because they want to tackle climate change. I think if every lawnmower in the world used fossil fuels, like that wouldn't be the end of the world, or like that's pretty far down the list for them to actually tackle. But I think it's cool to think about, I always make the analogy of like, okay, we use like the steam engine for the 19th century, the internal combustion engine for the 20th century. The 21st century will really use the electric motor and the electric drivetrain. And that is for everything that moves people or stuff or cuts grass or, is a tractor, is a boat, or is a plane. Like we're literally switching the propulsion system of that technology and the way we use and store energy for those products for everything. So the lawnmower, ripe for disruption. That Ego electric lawnmower company, they're probably awesome. But I don't think Tesla will get into it anytime soon. Yeah. All right. Next question. Hello. Hey, you're on Hyperchange.
Hey, Gally, thanks for taking my call, man.
Yeah.
I kind of have two questions about do you think it's possible that Elon could get in trouble for leaking emails in the future? And obviously, right now, the market is seeing a lot of pop up EVs. So just like, do you have like a time frame to know maybe when that competition might be taken more seriously?
Yeah, the competition thing. Man, you know, I hear this all the time, and it's like nobody has a good enough battery that they can build at scale that is also a software computer company to build an electric car. So I really think there is no company that's going to be able to come in and actually make, you know, for a long time that actually competes. Like I think Tesla's biggest competition is companies like Amazon and Zoox. You know, Amazon just bought that self-driving company Zoox. What are they going to do with it? How does that service actually look like? You know, Amazon has a ton of money, a ton of technology. They're really good at software. I'm waiting for a company like that to really try and compete with Tesla. But what's interesting about Tesla is for so long, so many people think they're totally going to fail, and just it was impossible. And so nobody even copied them or tried to do what they're doing. But now that they're like successful, everyone's trying to copy them, but they're so far behind. Like the video I just put out, it's like this 2 hour and a half interview with a former battery supply chain manager for Tesla, Vivas. Shout out to him, he's awesome. But it goes really into depth about like, okay, so like you're going to build batteries for millions of cars. Like, where are you getting the nickel, cobalt, manganese for those? How are you mining it? What's the emissions where you mine it? How are you going to refine that? Are you going to mine it in Australia, ship it to China to refine it, and then ship it back to, you know, somewhere else to turn it into a battery, and then ship it back to China when you turn it into a car? Like, you know, it's just to actually get to where Tesla is and to build up a supply chain that can support millions and millions of cars. Like, it's just really hard for me to think who's on the horizon and actually gonna be able to compete with them. You know, Apple, Amazon, and Google, I think, are the only people who really have enough money and technology wherewithal to give it a shot. Hello?
Hello, Gally?
Yep, this is Gally. You're on live on Hyperchange. You got a question?
Hi, this is Lud. Thanks again for your terrific shows. I just saw the Hours Plus show on the battery about 2 days ago, which is incredible.
Awesome.
I had a couple of questions about battery technology. One of the things that I've noticed in commenting and expectation of Battery Day is it seems that we're kind of thinking, people are thinking kind of unilaterally, like this is the one big battery that they're going to make, and so on and so forth. And I think that, to me, it seems clear that there's a whole plethora of batteries that the battery shortage for Tesla is huge. And I believe that, you know, just like they're working with CATL for their battery, their pouch battery, they're doing work with LG Chem, and they're continuing to expand with Panasonic. I see those things continuing. They need to get as many batteries as possible.
Yep.
My question is, are they sharing, do you think they're sharing, for example, with Panasonic and LG Chem, some of the technologies, like from Maxwell, to, let's say, go to a dry battery, not necessarily, you know, a dry electrode environment, in order to increase the production, would share that technology with them, keeping the high-level technology for their own unique brand of batteries, which are going to come out with. You know, I see a whole, it's kind of a landscape of multiple battery paths in order to dramatically expand to terawatt.
Yep. Awesome question. Excellent. So this is really fascinating. This is something that I've kind of been thinking more and more about. Is it was like, okay, I'm like Tesla, when I went to visit the Gigafactory, I'm like kind of like laughing to myself, because I'm like, oh, Panasonic's here. Like, they don't even know Tesla's about to put them out of business with this new battery cell. But it's actually totally the opposite. It's more like what you were saying, which is, I think Tesla needs every battery they can possibly get. These Panasonic lines are already set up. Let's make them better. Let's make them faster. We're going to use all those cells for Model 3 and Y. We're going to build our own cells that maybe are a little more expensive at first, a little more energy dense. Use that as for the Cybertruck to start. Use those for the Semi while we keep doing the Model 3 and Y. For China, we don't have enough batteries to build cars, but CATL can build batteries, so we're going to partner with them. So I think it's a very bifurcated, diversified battery strategy and supplier approach for Tesla, because like you said, they literally need every single battery. And this is, you know, why I'm super curious about, is like, my conspiracy theory is like, Okay, so Maxwell was actually tried to be purchased by like a portion of the Chinese government's direct investment arm that was blocked by CFIUS, which is some sort of U.S. government institution that blocks like, things that could jeopardize national safety. Like Maxwell technology was deemed to have such massively important battery technology that literally the U.S. government did not let China acquire the company. Now Tesla acquires them, and fast forward a year or two is building a massive factory in China where they build cutting edge batteries. So how much of that tech do they bring over to China? How much is it strategic to have in the U.S.? If I was Tesla, what I would do is keep super tight batteries, like basically make it a super secretive project to build our own battery cells, keep that in the US, keep all of that IP for as long as possible while we figure out how to do it. And then we don't need that super long range, energy efficient battery for China. So we can go with a different strategy there if we're concerned about IP being copied. And as you can see, like with the prismatic cells, they don't even need the really top line cylindrical cells to crush it there. So why put this expensive, super secretive battery IP there if you don't need it? Lots to consider, but I'm super curious to see how this works out. Thank you, Engineering Essentials, for the super chat. Appreciate that. All right, next call. 24 of you. I'm going to try to blast through these to catch up. Hey, this is Gali. You're on Hyperchange. What's up?
Oh, hi. Hi, Gali.
Hi.
This is Stefan.
Yeah, do you have a question?
This is Stefan. Gali, I have a question in relation to the most recent, not the most recent tweet, but there's a tweet from Elon saying, now is the time go all in. If you remember that after Nikola announced this truck, they're going to go, they have a plans with the production.
Yep.
In my opinion, that means that probably Tesla may actually go to build two factories, one in Austin and one in Tulsa. The reason behind it is that Cybertruck requires completely different manufacture setup because of the technology.
Yep.
And and we have to remember also Tesla committed to the van type, considering the tunneling of boring for San Bernardino. So they have to do something additional.
Gotcha. Yeah. I personally think there's no chance that Tesla. Oh, thanks for the super chat, Mahonry. Hope I'm saying that right. I don't think there's any chance Tesla builds two factories. I think they want to build bigger factories with vertical integration with everything on site. That's my read. Like they want battery production there. Like they literally, if it was up to Elon, they would literally have a mine and build it on top of a mine with all that lithium and nickel or whatever, and literally mine resources, all with sustainable energy, all with limited amount of water, and pump out cars at the same factory, all zero emissions, all sustaining itself. That's sort of, I think, the holy grail and vision of Tesla is these gigafactories and soon maybe even terafactories, where you can really drive down economies of scale, control the pace of innovation, control the supply chain, simplify. It's really fascinating to see every other car company diversify and spread out its supply chain and build all these different parts all around the world, not talking to each other. And I guess that worked and was cheap with the commoditized nature of those products decades ago. But now that the time is not for pricing power and making things cheaper, the time is we need to innovate and move fast and break things and apply this cutting edge technological breakthrough and push it down to certain economies of scale to hit price points we need for mass adoption. Like, I just think a vertically integrated mega factory is the new model, probably for the next few decades, and that's where I see Tesla tripling down. Cyberboat, I love that. Someone said that. Hey, you're on Hyperchange?
Yeah, hey Gali, hey, how's it going? Hey, I'm thinking about the Tesla network and kind of wondering what your thoughts are on the offerings around that. If it might model Uber or Lyft, and what cars might be allowed, S and X, or not going to be allowed because they don't have the same setup internally. And would people's vehicles supplement Tesla's fleet, maybe during surge periods? What are your thoughts around the structure of the Tesla network?
Yeah, so I'll keep online here, see if I answer it. So I do believe they will have surge, like they have said that, where if you can't get a Tesla network vehicle, Tesla will operate and deploy its own fleets potentially. What I see happening is really a lot of fleet operators people that clean and operate these fleets of rentals are really going to emerge as the Tesla network happens. And I think, like you said, it has to be the Model 3 and Y because of that interior-facing camera provides a key technological advantage of like, I can see what the fuck's happening, or sorry, excuse my French, what's happening in the car, just to see, to make sure if I have a recording, if something goes bad, I know what happened. I don't know. I think this whole concept of the whole way we get around and what we do and how we think about what a car is, if we can just rent one that drives itself and drops us off, is going to change. So I think there's a lot of questions. It's going to look a lot different than we even imagine. And the real breakthrough here is that it becomes a new platform, just like the smartphone was a platform for things way beyond a phone. The second we digitized it and turned it into a computer and were able to program it, and there was this, reduced friction to use the internet. I think Tesla's in the same way. There's going to be reduced friction to get around in the real world, and it's going to turn, the vehicle is going to turn into a platform. It's just hard to even fathom what that looks like at scale, how they operate it, what new multi-billion, hundreds of billions of dollars of companies get built on this technological platform. Is that what else you got for me, Cardinal? Thanks for the super chat. Did I answer your question?
Long-time shareholder. Yeah, it does. But I want to participate in the growth in the future too, right? And the stock's at an all-time high, and it seems like maybe getting my next car, I should consider a Tesla just to get in on that fleet ride share ability, continue the growth of the company. Yeah, thanks.
Totally. Thank you. All right, we'll go to another call. Hello, you're on Hyperchange. This is Gally.
Hey, Gally, this is Josh. How are you?
Great, Josh. You got a question?
Yes, sir. Long-term fan of the show, long-term Tesla shareholder. Just a question regarding the Cybertruck and looking at that as an investment as far as ride sharing. What do you think the likelihood is that they'll actually have FSD solved by then? Also, the legislation. And do you think there's any strategy as far as which Cybertruck to reserve, as far as timing, like, for example, have the single motor reserve so that it even buys you more time so that it does get solved, and switch to the tri-motor if you want to do it at that point?
Yeah. So, I mean, the Cybertruck right now is starting deliveries late 2021, early 2022. I don't know. We'll see if they even hit that. I don't think full self-driving will be approved by a government body then, at least in many geographies, especially in the US where I'm at. I just don't know. There's way too much up in the air. But I do think autonomy, functionality, it's already doing city streets. It's already really good on highways. It's going to get way better on city streets by the time the Cybertruck comes out. As far as strategy of which one to reserve to try and maximize it, I don't know. I think that's, I'm more of the game of like, and I think what you bring up is interesting because there's so many people who are like thinking and crunching the numbers about Tesla of like, wait, like how much money can I make from this car that they're selling if it can actually do what they say it's going to do? And it's, the economic case to buy a Tesla and operate it, it's really compelling. I think that's what you're getting at, but I'm just not too interested in that side of it personally. Hey, this is Gally. You're live on Hyperchange. What's up? Hello?
Hello, Gally.
Yeah.
Hey, this is great. Thank you for putting this on and all the things you've done. I just had a question that maybe you can't answer right now, but maybe you could do a video another time.
Okay.
But Tesla has people who they have brought along and then dropped along the way, like Mobileye, I think they had a while back. And then they did their own thing with their own cameras.
Yep.
And they had NVIDIA for a while. And then they, made their own computers, which is great. Back when I got Tesla, it was like around 200. And I also got NVIDIA. And, now that these other car companies are starting to see that they need to get into this, you could do some video about the ones that are successfully still able to follow along. Like I hear NVIDIA is starting to do more doing at this, right away, but there's people they can partner with who used to work with Tesla.
Yeah. Gotcha. So fast, just to get to everyone's calls here. Thanks for that Netherlands super chat. Mobileye, NVIDIA, Tesla vertically integrates. They want to do it on their own, not rely on suppliers. That is just the reality of the situation, and they're always going to try and do that. I mean, these other car companies literally just don't have the expertise. I mean, to think about this, Mobileye was purchased by Intel for like 15 billion or something, and Tesla built a better chip in-house and a better system themselves in-house. And this is the time when the company was only worth 20 or 30 billion, and they literally built in-house a better technology than a company who that was their only thing, and they're worth 15 billion. Nvidia's chip for their car business, I don't know, 50, hundreds of millions in revenue. Tesla just said, no, we got a better chip with, I think it was actually Intel they partnered with or something. But you know, Tesla's extremely unique. And this is what I would say of like, so who you think Uber's got a shot in the self-driving race? They're buying a car from Ford, putting putting a computer on it from NVIDIA, putting, an AI package on it from another company, trying to integrate it into their network. It's like 6 companies trying to do one thing. I mean, Tesla has it all under the same roof. I think that's a super big advantage. In this like kind of systematic vertical integration of each step of the technology stack will continue and is a key reason I love the company. And like, look what they're doing with Panasonic. They want to build their own battery cells because they can do it better. That's the latest example. Oh, thank you, Vlad. Appreciate that super chat. Hey, what's up? You're live on Hyperchange.
Hey, Gally. This is John from Baltimore. I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of the show. Thanks for all you're doing. I came into the community on board with Tesla as a stockholder back in February, and it's just been life-changing. So
awesome.
Real quick, I know you've done a lot of research around Tesla batteries, and I came across this inventor that used to work for Jet Propulsion Labs, and he's got some patents around a lithium battery technology, as well as something that's called a JTEC engine. It's like a thermoelectrochemical conversion process that he's got set up. It looks like the company doesn't really produce any product, but I was wondering if you came across anything like this from like Johnson Battery Technologies. They may have had some press in like the last couple of years, but it doesn't sound like anything's come of it. So I was wondering if you had any run-ins with that, or if it would be a good solution for Tesla to partner with them.
I have not heard about it, have not had any run-ins. I don't think it would be a good solution for Tesla to partner because, there's always, it's probably, there's so many battery breakthroughs. There's always another one. I just don't think that until you can actually, like, I don't care what your battery can do in the lab and what press release you put out and how many money you spend on a presentation like Nikola. Oh, don't even get me started on Nikola. I want to go do that. It just doesn't matter until you can build it at scale and profitably. And Tesla's the leading company at that. And so, yeah, and I'm also not that deep in the game enough to know really about what you're talking about. If you have any Nikola questions, I would love to answer those because I think Nikola, I'm going to a little rant here because deep in my own live stream, I'm worried I'm going to get sued by Trevor Milton because he's suing journalists who speak negatively about his company. But man, $30 billion for a company with zero revenue that lost 100 million last year. Like, I think Nikola is setting up to be Theranos 2.0. Like, I cannot wait to see the HBO documentary of what this is going to look like, because the amount of people who are getting duped into buying this company who have not, like, I was spending all morning reading the SEC filings. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Nikola, this trucking company, is worth 30 billion because people think it's the next Tesla. Nobody who's actually done any research is looking into this. I mean, their own projections are projecting $3 billion in revenue in 2024. So you're buying a trucking company that doesn't exist based on 10 times 4 years out forward sales ratio of their own made up spreadsheet numbers. Like, it doesn't even make valuation sense on their own bullshit numbers. And I think it's really sad that I think a lot of young, smart people are going to get their really first tough life lesson learned here when they realize that, tweeting and making big statements on Twitter is very different from actually building a company that's worth $30 billion. And there's going to be a huge rubber meets the road moment there with Nikola. So I don't know, there's kind of a PSA to everyone, but I've been following that and I just cannot believe the valuation the company's trading at. I can't believe that more people in the financial media are not kind of ripping it to shreds and telling people just how sketchy of a situation it is, because it kind of scares me. But anyway, next question. Hey, you're live on Hyperchange. What up? This is Gally. Can I help you?
Yes, huge shout out to you, Gally, for comparing thoroughness with Nikola. Thanks for that, and people need to know it. The other thing that I want to say or ask is, how does it occur that when Tesla becomes an S&P 500 index company, that the actual volume of stock becomes available to all of the index funds? Seems like it would be distributed to those index funds for their purposeful acquisition.
Okay.
Might there be dissolution? New offerings that would dilute the stock? What are your thoughts on that?
Like, should Tesla raise capital?
Well, I don't know if they have to raise capital by issuing new stock just to fulfill the demand for the index funds to acquire Tesla stock, or is it going to tremendously run up the stock that exists?
Gotcha. Yeah, great question. So a lot of people are really curious about this whole S&P 500 inclusion. Basically, Tesla gets added to the world's largest index fund that tracks the 500 largest, U.S. companies. They need a certain profitability requirement to get there. It looks like they're about to hit it. So all these funds will be essentially forced to add Tesla to their allocation and will be forced for one way or another to buy in the open market. There will not be new shares issued. So in theory, supply and demand, if all these, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars worth of institutional index funds are forced to acquire a small amount of Tesla for their portfolio, a certain amount, that massively overnight essentially increases the demand on Tesla stock. The supply will stay the same. Therefore, you can imply what you want about the price. But this is why people are so on one about the S&P 500 inclusion. It's a huge growing up moment. The institutionalization, if you will, of Tesla stock probably, I haven't looked into exactly the numbers of how much would have to buy it, but it's a significant amount. So, I've always thought this is a nice tailwind, but it's like, I don't care. This kind of frustrates me perfectly because I'm like, I'm invested in Tesla because I think the company's worth $200 billion today. Soon it's going to be worth 400. I think it'll be worth $1 trillion eventually. Like, I don't give a shit if some fund manager who is too dumb to, or not too dumb, but whose job is to manage an index fund is forced to buy a little bit of it. Like, that doesn't change the intrinsic value. That doesn't change what's happening at Tesla tomorrow. That doesn't change what Tesla's 10-year plan is. That doesn't change what Elon Musk is going to do. That changes nothing about the intrinsic actual company. It's just a nuance of the financial markets where they get swept up into this broader inclusion of index funds and people are forced to buy it, and therefore the valuation might benefit with a permanent slight premium while they're in there. But the truth is, like, I don't care. Like, I think Tesla, I'd much rather focus on what their business is doing to be worth 1 to 2 trillion and increase the value than sort of structural financial tailwinds, if that makes sense. Hey, you're live on Tesla, or live on Hyperchange. Sorry, this is Gally. How can I help you?
Hey, Gally. Gerard from Jersey City here. What's up, man?
What's up?
So yeah, I just upgraded to full self-driving, and I feel like it's got like a little more to go. Like superchargers need to be updated to be autonomous, right? How do you see that rolling out, and how do you think Tesla will split the cost with customers, like for repairs in the car and maintenance and things like that?
Man, this is above my pay grade. So Tesla's got the robot snake charger, which is super dope. For those who haven't seen it, it's like this, like literally like snake arm that goes in and finds and plugs in the car, so you don't have to. Also, would be very useful with COVID. Actually, now I think about it, but the job that I'm most bullish on for the next decade is people who are cleaning cars and operating fleets of vehicles and touching up the inside of Teslas that drive us all around. Who knows how this will work? Who knows what prices and cost Tesla will split? I don't know. But yeah, there's so much, like I was saying earlier in the live stream, there's just so much unknown with the whole autonomous robo-taxi thing because it's just a totally new way to get around. And it will spring up massive adjacent businesses and verticals to try and service those cars. But, other than that, we just don't know.
Hello.
Hey, you're live on Hyperchange. This is Gally.
Oh, hi.
Hi. What's up?
My name is John. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Cool.
Hello.
Hello. Do you have a question?
I got a question. Why doesn't Tesla just buy up a bunch of land in? Yeah, why doesn't Tesla just buy up a bunch of land in the desert somewhere where the land's real cheap and cover it with solar panels? Rather than trying to get everybody to put it on their house, that would give an immediate, they could turn it into a power company.
What's your name? Nothing? All right, I'll run with it. Love this question. This is unbelievable. So will Tesla become a power company, just build a ton of solar panels in the desert and start selling power? Maybe. I mean, there's so many different ways to do this. I mean, what if they just set up an autonomous ship that drove around the ocean with like the waves and just collected a bunch of sun? I don't know. There's a million different ideas of what Tesla could do, but I think it was interesting of one of the shareholder meetings. You reminded me of a question where they were like, why don't Tesla like buy a power plant and put batteries on it and make money from it? Why are we selling batteries to like the Hornsdale Energy Reserve and like Neonin, some energy operators making all the money from our batteries? Like, shouldn't we just do the power plant thing and just sell energy straight up? Their answer was like, it's just going to take a while. We'll get there eventually, but it's just like far away. They hadn't even thought about it, but it sounded like a good idea. I feel like when they asked Elon about this at the shareholder meeting, he was like, well, that's actually kind of sounds like a good idea. We just like are too busy and haven't thought about it yet. But in the long run, could Tesla set up power plants? Like, yes. This is an energy company, and that's like a really great outside the box way to kind of think about one of the future industries they could get in, because right now power and energy companies are desperate to make money. The Tesla batteries that are being sold to them are a sort of saving grace for their business model, like a massive value driver and piece of that ecosystem already. Hey, what up? You're live on Hyperchange. This is Gally. How can I help you?
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Just hanging out, enjoying all the content. And
awesome.
I had a quick question.
Let's do it.
I'm a logistics type of person. I did get a good number of shares. I missed out on the last from the 200 to 900 gaps, and I actually caught it right at 355 during this COVID stuff. And so basically I'm on track to being able to get a Cybertruck, a Tesla Semi.
Let's go. Congrats.
So I was just thinking of getting one of those, but I'm also looking at the different maths, which, who has time for that? But have you looked into the what is it? Is it CHLL? No, SHLL.
Oh, no.
There were some people talking about some numbers on a 4-year basis being cheaper on the natural gas end of it. They were going to do something.
Man, okay. I'm just going to get to the point here because I know this one. This is killing me. All these hydrogen truck startups, I think is what he's talking about, in natural gas companies like Nikola that are trying to come out and say that they have a truck that can compete. I mean, nothing exists until you build it. So there's all these companies that are trying to capitalize on Tesla and do these IPOs with these sketchy truck business models. I don't know. I just think it's all BS, and I don't believe any of them. And even the specs that Tesla Semi put out are going to be tough to hit, and we'll have to see if they hit those. So that's really what I'm curious. Hello?
Hey, Gally, it's Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, when do you think I would be able to get a ride in a Tesla Robo-taxi?
Ooh, good question. Man, that is a good one. If I had to guess, I would say 2024. 2023, 2024. Because yeah, it's just going to take a while. I mean, which government is going to approve it? If I was like if I was super into this, I'd be like, okay, who's my government? I would be writing, if I was the government people, I would be figuring out how to cater to electric and autonomous cars as fast as possible and know that this technology is coming and start hitting up Tesla. I mean, like, hey, we want you to do your neural network here. Like, we have a great stretch of road that would be super easy to do an autonomous route for your autonomous semi-truck. We want to test it. Like, we want to be the first one. Like, and as much as Elon is so sort of frustrated, or like, he's so stubborn about not saying which geography will have it, and this whole concept that you have to have self-driving everywhere before you can turn it on, is great. But it's like, you're gonna have to start with one government. One government is gonna have to approve where you're allowed to get a robo-taxi. Who's it gonna be? When's it gonna be? I don't know. But Tesla's putting out on their safety page, like, you know, the data. This is how many accidents happen per whatever million miles. And it's already showing that the Tesla autopilot is significantly safer than the human driver. I don't know how like many standard deviations away it would be, but you know, that's starting the data to see that we're literally running a real world experiment right now. And it's showing that the computer is already safer than the human and getting safer by the day. At what point did the government, you know, is my faith in government, people making a strategically smart scientific decision, high? No. But at some point, they're going to look at that data and say, this is good enough. We're going to give it a shot. You're going to be allowed to do it. It's going to be a historic moment. It's going to be one of the most biggest moments of technology in human history when we legally allow, you know, a car to be driven with a computer. Think about as we hand off more and more of our decisions in life to artificial intelligence systems that are not us. You know, driving is a massive piece of that. We're already like, what content we watch, what social media or reading we consume is probably already dictated by social media or some sort of algorithm from a social media company. What we buy based on, you know, Instagram's showing us ads about what we should buy. More and more of our lives and our decision making is being offset to artificial intelligence. And beyond content recommendation and search engines, I think one of the biggest first real world applications of this is driving. And if you think about the simulation, the inefficiencies in what humans do and how they drive and how much stress and time and energy and deaths and harm to our medical system are caused by driving, there's a massive room for improving the simulation that we all live in terms of safety and time and energy, and giving humans something to do that's not driving each other humans and other stuff around. And so that's what gets me really excited. It's like, as much as it's scary that truck driving jobs are going away, as much as it's scary that Uber and human driving jobs are going away, you know, is that an opportunity that we can let technology do this hard work for us, and we can spend our times doing more value add creative things that are more engaging, that are, you know, more fulfilling to the human experience. Like, at a high level, that's what I think these sort of technologies do. And it's a weird, like, I'm getting on a sidetrack here, but I feel like it's like a weird tangent of like, you know, more and more of our daily life is getting taken over by these algorithms. And I just think the Tesla one, it's, you know, I was convinced because when I went to Autonomy Day in 2019, shout out to Ross Gerber and Julia, my two buddies, I was the first person in the first car. We were in the self-driving Tesla with with the demo software. And it was like, blew my mind that I was watching the wheel turn. We were on the highway. We took a left after a stop sign into oncoming traffic. Like, I was like, holy shit, I actually feel confident that this car has 8 cameras that are all looking. It has a network that's training it. I can see on the screen what the car sees. Like, this is, I actually trust the car more than the human. And then I was in San Francisco like later that day, and I'm like, wow, like this like lady is texting at a stoplight, and like, I'm like, no way. Like, I really hope she stops. And I had like a moment of panic where I was like, I wish that was a Tesla with nobody behind the wheel rather than a human texting. I would have felt safer with the Tesla. As a human, that moment for me was the moment that I was convinced that like, this is going to happen. We are going to have autonomous cars in the future, and we're going to trust them more than humans, and humans might actually not even be allowed to drive. Trent Thomas, 1111 with that like button comment, super chat. Thank you. Oh, I went simp on you guys. I'm sorry. Next question. Hey, you're live on Hyperchange. This is Gally. What's up?
Hey, Gally, it's Trey from Lexington, Kentucky.
What's up?
So we all know that the sales for the S and X have slowly been declining over the years, especially now that the Model 3 is here and the Model Y production is continuing to ramp now. When do you think eventually would it be beneficial for Tesla to discontinue the Model S or X, or do you ever think that they will?
So, man, this is a good question. First of all, I think, you know, if you can cannibalize yourself, you know, Apple crushed the iPod with the iPhone. if you can cannibalize yourself with a better product, the greatest companies in the world will disrupt themselves. Why is nobody buying a Model S and X like they used to? Well, because there's a Tesla that, no offense, but drives itself a little bit better with self-driving and is pretty much the same, but costs basically half the price. Like, no wonder nobody's buying the Model S and X. And so when you think about Tesla's mission, it's not like a car company to maximize profits and have all these different models. It's really to accelerate the transition off sustainable energy. And if you listen to Elon Musk's comments about the Model S and X on conference calls, he basically alludes them as vestigial. Like, we needed them to get the technology to a certain place, but they're not the vision. They're not the future of the company. I think they're going to remake a plaid Model S, super performance. I think they should charge 40 to 50% gross margins on this. I think they should just milk it for profit, have it be a super dope car for the brand, like kind of a super car, and it'll be niche and it'll be dope. And it seems like they want to have that for track mode and things like that. But the Model X, I mean, discontinue it. The doors were dope. It's a classic, but it's just not practical. That's my opinion. It distracts focus from Tesla. And I don't know, I feel kind of sad saying it, but I do think they kind of should and probably will discontinue the Model X at some point. And, I think Tesla's best-selling car in 5 to 6 years is nothing they've announced. It's the Model 2. It's that cheaper, even smaller, more compact car they're probably going to start designing in China. And when you think about the importance of that, even the Model 3 and Y look vestigial and old compared to what Tesla's coming out with, so let alone the Model S and X. I think as amazing as they were, and they got Tesla to where they are in like this piece of automotive history, like they've kind of been disrupted by Tesla's newest cars. Hey, what up? This is Gally. You're live on Hyperchange.
Hey, Gally, how are you?
Great.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you for taking the call. And I hope everybody's doing good. This pandemic situation, this is 10th year of Tesla. Happy anniversary to Tesla fans. Thank you for taking my call. And I've been following you by almost in 5 years, Gally, on YouTube. So thank you, nice content you've been. I appreciate your work and you're doing YouTube contribution. Really, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Do you have a question? Can I help you with something?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. I think is there any way the stock split on Tesla is coming up? Planning on any idea on the stock split? And another question is on HVAC system, air condition and heating and cooling and homes.
Okay.
Any idea on those 2 areas?
Gotcha. So stock split, this is something that I actually emailed Tesla about and said they should split their stock a while ago. But I think it's less important now that there's a lot of technologies that allow you to basically buy a tiny amount of a stock. Cash App rolled it out, Robinhood, Public. It's easy to buy fractional shares. I think that's the future. I don't think companies should be forced to split their stock to make it smaller and more accessible to buy. So I don't think Tesla will split. I don't really think they need to. But I do think it's super important that we get young people invested and allow them to buy fractional shares. Like, I have this idea where if you could give all these people when they turn 18, a Robinhood or a Public account or a Cash App account with $100 to $200 in it and let them invest and let them learn, like that would be the greatest way to turbocharge financial education in the country. And so I'm working on that. And I do think that that's super important to be able to allow anyone to buy any stock they want, no matter how small the amount of capital, because that is reducing, truly reducing the friction in the financial system and democratizing it in a way that I think is inevitable and has to happen. And so I'm totally with you all in the sentiment of the stock split, but I don't think it's actually necessary with technology. HVAC, when is Tesla going to come out with an HVAC system? I have no idea. It's going to be like a long, long time, I think. But it's got huge potential. And if Elon Musk keeps ranting and rambling about Twitter about how he has a scheme and he wants to do something, that's how the Boring Company started. That's how the Cybertruck was. It's going to happen. It's going to be a game changer. And it's going to mean cheaper ways to heat and cool our homes and clean the air in our homes and solve a problem we don't even know exists, which is a lot of people are breathing super dirty, polluted air all day, every day, and it's ruining their health and eroding it. And eventually, that will get disrupted. All right, I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to do one more question, but these have all been amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, hey, Gally, you there?
Hey, yeah, you're live on Hyperchange. What's up?
Awesome. Got a battery question for you. So I've been reading about the battery patents that Tesla recently released. I was wondering what you think the what's going to be next for what their battery area. Like, do you think they're going to improve on packaging? Do you think they're going to improve on electrochemistry? Do you think they're going to? Is it more important to homogenize their batteries to be produced, like, say, for their car and for the grid, or do you think it's going to be more better to specialize in one area or another?
Ooh, fascinating. I'm going to leave you on the line because you sound like you know a lot about this. I think they will specialize and kind of diversify. And I'm curious what exact patent you're referring to, because there's a few different ones, like the tabless electrode patent, I believe, was a recent one. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, this is the tabless electrode.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not a battery guy, so I don't know enough about this, but I watched the limiting factors video about it, and it seems super impressive. I mean, I think Tesla's innovating on a ton of different facets of battery production and chemistry and pack design at once. And that's super, and they're going to have the strategy of diversified different chemistries for different batteries of different applications. I think that all makes sense. But I also think it's not just about making a better cell and different cells. It's about the design of the pack, at least for the vehicles. I think is going to be a huge sort of underappreciated game changer is cell to pack technology, no modules, which they still have, also vestigial, like from the Model S and Roadster, ironically, but like get rid of those. I'm just really, really excited for Elon Musk to go to the drawing board with a decade of battery expertise and no limitations and the ability to build his own production line and have him be like, just go to town and design something crazy new. Is it 4,000 little tubular cells like we have now, or is it cylindrical cells, or is it, one huge cell? Is it 10 cells? Is it pouch cells? Is it prismatic cells? Is there 500 of it? Like, it's just, we get Elon Musk, the most genius, brilliant inventor and engineering mind, who has so much expertise in this and so many resources to go to town and from scratch design the world's most cutting edge battery pack. It's going to be epic.
Yeah, because one thing that I really liked was just revolutionizing the 18650. Like, he took it to the next generation, and now we've got the Tesla batteries could go in literally anything. Like, they could become their own battery producer. They could be a grid scale energy producer. I think the sky's the limit when it comes to the amount of electrochemistries that they can do.
Yep, totally. Anything else I can answer for you?
Nope, that's it. Thanks.
Dope, thank you. All right, that guy crushed it with a dope question, so I'm going to do one more. Hey, what up? This is Gally. You're on Hyperchange.
Hi, Gally. I got two quick ones. First, on Arcimoto, I didn't buy it in February. I saw you down at Fully Charged, by the way. And I looked at it, and I wasn't convinced that they knew what they were doing as far as manufacturing, but I was so impressed when they got together with Sandy Monroe. Did you hook them up?
I did, yeah.
That was awesome. And so I bought some, and I've already made about $5,000 on it. I've got 2,500 shares, and I'm very, very happy. So thank you for the tip. But the main reason for my call, Nikola, and I swear that I was going to say, I'd already thought about it, and I was going to compare them to Theranos. Now, look, here's my question for you. First, a comment.
Yeah.
This is the biggest fraud that I can remember seeing. All you have to do is study it. Take a few hours to study it. You don't have to listen to Gally or anybody else. Just study it. This is not legit. And my question of you is, do you think that maybe this asking for the $5,000 deposit for the Badger, which is nothing yet, they haven't even said who's going to manufacture it, if anyone, is the final gasp before that he gets discovered, say, in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months? Because even if they only got 10,000 people to send in for it, that's $50 million of money that is not going to come back to people. I just feel like shouting a warning, don't give them money, you're not going to get it back. This reminds me of Elio a few years ago. There was a point at which you just knew it was not real and it wasn't going to happen. So I wanted to echo what you've been concerned about and go further and say this is an absolute fraud. If you listen to the man and the things that he says and doesn't say and the contradictions, you cannot fail to realize that he is just a fraud. Do you think this $5,000 reservation for the Badger, does that mean anything special to you? Because it was maybe the last red flag thing. Maybe this is the guy's last money grab.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I personally think that, they're going to have $1 billion in cash after this IPO. They burned 90 million last year. They have a lot of cash to go, and they're going to spend it, and this is going to last a while. And why I think this is pretty genius on some level is because, first of all, Trevor Milton, I believe, cashed out around 70 million, or him and companies he owns. Also, I want to be clear, if Trevor Milton's listening, I did not say this is a fraud. That's, my caller's opinion. I don't know if it's a fraud or not. I want to be careful. But, they have enough cash to last a very long time. Their lockups are probably going to expire well before any product has to be delivered. So, you're looking at a company that's not going to deliver a single truck till 2021. They don't even have a partner to build this Badger truck. They're already taking reservations for. They're already getting people hyped about. Everyone in this, every investor, every insider, or a lot of them are going to have a huge opportunity to cash out a significant amount of their stock before any of these products they're talking about actually hit the market. And so that to me is extremely concerning is, how long does this go? It could be years because they have tons of money. People apparently love it. But the other thing that's happening with Nikola is there's structural, institutional, financial roadblocks to the company being able to be shorted and put options to be purchased. I think one of the reasons the downside volatility is so drastic, priced into the put options versus the upside volatility from this price is because all of the insiders and people who purchased earlier are hedging out their positions by buying puts, locking in profits of shares they bought at $10. Now they're trading at 60 or 70. It's easy to instantly lock in profits with put contracts. That's why we're seeing volatility, the implied vol in those put contracts be massively skewed to the downside because people are locking in those profits because they want to sell and cash out when they can, when that lockout expires. So we already have clues indicating that insiders are getting restless. That's my, read on those option prices, and are already hedging out and will liquidate when they can. That's my guess. So I don't know. I don't know how this thing ends. I think it's really sketchy. And I think them taking money for people and this whole notion of like, oh, it's a fully refundable reservation, but it's not refundable if you go to Nikola World. It's kind of a genius way to have their event go viral. And I mean, the problem is they're piggybacking on decades of trust that Tesla built by putting these, quote unquote, fully refundable reservations for their products and building hype. And the difference was that Tesla actually built an amazing car that people loved, that worked, that was delivered. And they trusted them and it worked. The problem is, you're not trusting Elon Musk. It's a different company. People will screw you over. And sadly, that benefit of the doubt that Tesla won, that was so hard to earn, people are taking advantage of. And that's what I think we're really seeing there. And, like I said, $1 billion in cash, that could last them a couple years. This hype could go, they're not saying they're going to deliver their car for years. I mean, this could go on for a very long time. But I'm super skeptical and staying away. Anyway, I'll take one more question. Hey, this is Gally. Welcome to Hyperchange.
Hi, this is Jonas from Germany.
What's up?
I have a question. What is your view on the feature completeness of the fully self-driving? Because Elon claimed to have it by 2019, and I'm involved in like machine learning and so on, and I still see like low-hanging fruit, like speed sign detection and so on, which they have not picked up yet, which they could do before rolling out the fully self-driving features. And I'm wondering why they don't approach these low-hanging fruits first. Is it because this would be an incremental change and they want to do like big steps forward, or what do you think why this is going on like this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anything's really low-hanging fruit. I mean, I think it's extremely difficult to do any feature that Tesla's rolled out, have a car drive itself in the world with a human in it is going to be, that's not a low-hanging fruit software feature. But, it's just taking time. Like, I don't know. I feel like I already kind of answered this question, is Tesla's, when does the Robo-taxi network happen? When does FSD feature complete happen? It's getting better. I would say the best way for all those people listening, if you want to figure out how good is Tesla at self-driving, who's winning, what is the status quo, then literally just talk to someone who owns a Tesla, who gets the updates, who drives on autopilot every day. This thing went from being just doing normal autopilot on the freeway to changing lanes on the freeway to navigating different freeways to now being able to drive more and more on city streets, stoplight confirmation, The visualization, you can see what the computer is seeing has improved greatly. There's a ton of tangible progress that is happening, every single month. They're raising the FSD price, they're recognizing more revenue. It's all happening. But when the end game occurs, I don't know. But I do know that, those features that you're saying are probably coming soon. They're just, down the line, they're knocking them out one at a time, update by update. It just takes time to solve like the world's largest artificial intelligence problem in the world, which is building a car that can drive better than a human. So, it's a massive process. And I think when you appreciate how difficult it is, you also realize why it's going to be so hard for other people to try and be able to replicate what Tesla's done. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been super, super fun. Definitely going to do another Q&A later. Let me know what you think in the comments of how I can make it better, if you enjoyed it or not, anything like that. But yeah, super pumped that Tesla's at 200 billion right now. Not selling any of my shares, holding on for the long term. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.